I'll give you three options. I'm either a troubled soul in immediate need of therapeutic intervention, a highly creative individual who has dabbled in everything from rock bands to radical politics, or I'm just an indie author who tried to become an author as a very angry young man, and then eventually I got my act together 14 years ago. My latest book, my latest novel, is called Medusa and the Devil. Get your copy now. It is the second book in a darkly comic crime thriller trilogy called Mason Maid. And the first book, The Dead Hand of Dominique, featured the narrator, who is the protagonist, called Stephen Mason. Now, he's a young career villain from the badlands of the borders between London and Essex. And he now finds himself living on a small strategic island in the Mediterranean. He had hoped that he may have left behind his old ways, but they soon find him, and so begins a new adventure, and one I think you'll enjoy. Well, to answer that, I'm going to focus on some of the underlying themes. Political and financial corruption. I did a fair amount of research on a lot of news stories, and I've taken some of those and dramatised them. Hopefully I've heavily disguised them, but for the keen news reader, news follower, I think you might find a few of the things there that are fairly topical. The other theme is the plight of the dispossessed, and that is very much symbolised by two children who Stephen Mason is a bit conflicted by, as he seeks to care for the children whilst at the same time having a need for them to be able to help him in identifying the antagonist, Max Schmidt, who is a devil-like character. And it is this conflict between Stephen and Max Schmidt that really is at the heart of the novel. The other theme is really redemption, and Stephen, because of the sort of events from Dead Hand of Dominique, is seeking some kind of redemption. It is mentioned in the second book, but you will find that the second book can stand alone. But if you enjoy reading the second book, I do highly recommend the first book as well. I draw on life experience, my imagination, and the creative process. So have I ever known somebody like Stephen Mason, a young career villain? I suppose I've come across characters like that. I would include myself as being like Stephen Mason, but certainly elements of the anti-hero, the moral ambiguity is probably something that I've juggled with myself. Imagination, it is something that it pops out into your head. I found Stephen Mason popped into my head. He was like a voice screaming to get out, and when he did, that was it. I was off. I knew I had found exactly the voice I was looking for in order to articulate a lot of my concerns and the things that I want to say. And then the creative process. Quite often it's really only through writing that characters actually appear, or the characters that you thought of begin to become flesh and bone, if you like. And that was certainly the case with Max Schmidt. I didn't really know who or what he was going to be, other than I wanted something quite sinister and pernicious. And also even some of the minor characters in the novel, such as Myla, who is a young woman who's seeking to transition, but at the same time she needs to find a living, and has a relationship with the rather dubious Max Schmidt. Well, there are times when I've absolutely hated it, So I wouldn't say that I've always loved writing, but there are times when it is the best thing ever. And it's a realisation for me for a very long personal journey. And I must say, at the end of the day, and I'm certainly in that period now, where being an author is all that I ever wanted to be, and it is the most satisfying thing that you can ever do, to realise an artistic vision. It's not the first time I've been asked that question, and I've hopefully got a fairly snappy answer. 3 things again: persevere, self-belief. The best advice I ever had came from a builder who was working on my extension. So advice can come from anywhere, so it doesn't have to be from a literary agent. The other one is craft, and that's the only thing you can actually control. So persevere and dedicate yourself to the craft of writing, because however talented you are, if you don't work a lot, you probably won't ever fully realise that talent. And it took me a very long time to realise that myself. And rejection. It is not personal, but you will get a lot of rejection. And listen to only those who you trust, because you will get a lot of criticism. You can buy this wonderful comic crime thriller from all major book retailers, including Waterstones, Falls and Amazon. However, you may have to go online to purchase it, because that is the nature of big retailers, but they tend not to put independent authors on their bookshelves. I wonder why. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope I've managed to articulate a little bit of what awaits you if you were to purchase this wonderful new crime thriller fiction book, Medusa and the Devil. I wish you well. Thank you very much for listening.